Anthony on Air podcast. Welcome in. Frankie C is with us today. How you doing, man?
Doing all right today. Yourself?
Talking about today's cancellations. Waking up to the news. Chris D'Elia canceled today, and Aunt Jemima also canceled for separate reasons. These are two of the day's daily news, and we'll talk about it and try and bring a little levity to one situation. Chris D'Elia accused of sexual misconduct. I started to see this last night as it was coming out, but one person put, and again, this is so interesting to me how organic social media can still be, because we live in a time of algorithm and you can pay to reach people and all that stuff, and it's still kind of great to see something organically go on social media. I wish it wasn't this, but it's still kind of cool to see people getting on things and sharing them, and that organic reach still happening. But Chris D'Elia has been, and this is what's interesting. Have you ever seen the show Use on Netflix? I haven't seen this.
No, never heard of it.
He plays a comedian and a pedophile.
Oh.
And as it turns out, he's a comedian and a pedophile. Well, I don't know if he's a pedophile, but
I guess allegedly.
Allegedly, he's a pedophile. A woman on Twitter named Simone Rossi in 2R. She began a thread referencing Chris from Goodfellas.
The hell was that? Yeah, I don't remember that, but okay. Go ahead.
Remember the girl who's cheating on with Henry Hill? Her last name is Rossi, and she goes to the thing and she's buzzing, and then she buzzes everybody else in the building. Rossi in 2R. You have a whore living in you don't remember that scene?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember the scene. I don't remember the name.
Yeah. Anytime I see the name Rossi, that immediately just triggers in my head.
When the hell do you see that name?
I don't know. I see it. Don't tell me what I see and what I don't see, okay?
I know what you see. You don't see anything.
I'm so mad at Frank because I was trying to do a bit in our little group chat and he blew it up like a jerk.
Admit you
were a jerk.
I'm a jerk. And anybody with a Google machine can type what you said into the thing and it would be easily figured out, like I did. I said, you know what? Knowing you, if it came from Leanne, if it came from Lauren, if it came from Erin or D, I would say, I trust this. This is probably nothing. Coming from you and some of the other people in our group, I tend to question what you're sending us.
I found
when
this
you ask
thing,
to send a video to you,
I
saying
know
certain words.
It was a long shot.
I wonder why.
You ask somebody to send you a video saying sign name cuff. And then when you get it back, you put it in reverse and then you see what it says, and it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah. Which is amazing that more of this hasn't come out. Like, there's got to be other words that do that, similar things. But yeah, all I did was Google those three words, and the first thing that came up.
And you can see it. But it's a fun little gag that friends can do with one another. I wasn't going to put it out or anything. It was just I was going to reverse them all and then put them back into the group chat so everybody could laugh at it. And you, like a jerk, went, nice try. And then that's it. It ruined it. Nobody's going to do it now. You ruined it.
Yeah, I saved our friends from being humiliated on this podcast, probably.
You saved us from laughter and fun. Way to go.
Well, now that
Fun
you
police.
just said it.
Yeah, there you go. Somebody could do it to me. That I just said.
Whoever wants to take it off of this podcast, feel free to do that. Reverse what Anthony just said and figure it out.
I wasn't going to put it on the podcast. That's nobody would get it. It's fun just to kind of put it back into the group and have everybody, see their reaction.
I feel like you would have put it on the podcast.
No, there's no reason to do that. Anyway, so Chris D'Elia plays a comedian and pedophile on Use in the second season, and Simone Rossi tweeted, I still can't believe Netflix cast Chris D'Elia as the pedophile in the season of You, like the literal irony. Rossi followed up with several rounds of email screenshots allegedly between her and the stand-up comic when she was 16 years old, which showed D'Elia asking Rossi to meet up after his live shows, as well as asking her for photos. For a long time, I thought it was embarrassing for me and I was interacting with this older man, Rossi tweeted, but he was the one who DM'd me on Twitter and was the one who was twice my age and was the one that used the power imbalance between us to his advantage. So fuck Chris Delia. And then one after another, other girls started doing the same thing, which leads me to my question here, which is that how is now I don't. I'll be honest with you. I like a lot of the comics that run in Chris D'Elia's class, if you will. Like a lot of the guys he
Okay.
pals around with. Like he's been on Rogan a bunch, and I've mentioned Bert Kreischer and
Was
Tom
he in
Segura. And
anything else that like any of the shows?
I don't think so. He kind of really just he made it big on his own after years and years and years of just doing stand up. I'll be honest with you. He looks like a pedophile. I mean, I don't want to be discouraging for anybody who has long hair and a beard, but he doesn't have like if I said to you, if I held this picture up and I was like pedophile or not, you'd probably be like, I'd err on the side of pedophile.
Yeah, that's a safe bet. But I'm looking, trying to find if he was in anything else that I would recognize.
Like if you held up a picture of me and went, "Does this guy go to buffets or not?" You'd be like, "Yeah, he probably goes to buffets." Like let's just call it. Let's call the shots like they are.
Yeah, I'm looking at these movies. I don't really see anything familiar.
He's not
Oh
like
well.
huge by any stretch of the means, but he was right on that cusp of he's big enough to command a Netflix special whenever he wants, and the next step is going to be massive. His podcast is pretty big. I know he has a pod. I've never listened to it. Again, I never really looked at his specials. I've seen like little clips of him. I think he's okay. I just never got into him as much as like the aforementioned other comics that I just was talking about. I just they've all come across to be a little bit more funnier to me, like a
Right.
little bit more grabbing. But then all these girls started putting up all the same stuff, and so it leads me to my question, which is, how does an adult, first of all, put aside the fact that you're asking an underage girl for photos, which we can all obviously agree upon that's screwed up. But why would you act in this behavior if you're in the public light, if you're in the public eye? DMing girls for nudes and all that. Like, does this really go on? Like, do you really think that you can act this way? Let's even assume that it was well assumed and known that it was with a 25-year-old girl, totally age appropriate. Like, do you think that as a public figure, that's not going to come back to
They
haunt
don't
you?
think about that apparently. It's they probably think, yeah, what are the odds I'm gonna make it big? What are the odds I'm gonna
Yeah, but you know
be
what?
famous?
Frank, even 4 or 5 years ago, when some of this stuff allegedly happened, he was still a working road comic. He still had some notoriety. He was doing like little bit parts and stuff like that. He was still
I
a known
can't
guy.
I can't imagine that your head is on straight anyway. If this is the type of person you are,
Yeah.
so I'm sure they're not thinking logically
You think
about their
that's it? You think
future.
it's just broken up there and they
It's a
can't?
it's a broken switch, some kind of weird wiring. They're obviously not in their right frame of mind or in the right frame of mind. So I can't imagine they're going, well, I should think about the right thing here. It doesn't really, I don't think that registers with someone who would do that.
It's just a weird lifestyle to begin with, being a stand-up comic or a musician, like
Sure.
where you're touring and you're on the road, and your only way to have any sort of relationships with any people is quick one night, or two night, like that's such a tough way to be in existence.
Yeah, but I'm sure, I mean, there are comedians and musicians that make it work with their family. They have, even if they take their family with them, or, they're on the road and they stay in touch. And nowadays it's easier because ways to stay in touch have gotten a lot more sophisticated.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have a family living back home and you're touring for a few months, yeah, it's difficult, but people do it. That's the life that they choose.
Yeah.
Or if they have a wife or a husband, they go with them on the road, maybe, depending on what their jobs entail. Who knows? I mean, but people make it work. Is my point.
It's just so weird, and I hate to sound like an ageist. It's so funny. I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and it was there was somebody we were talking about that we know of that we don't know, who's in his like 50s, who's like friends with somebody like in their like 20s, like 30s, and I was just like, I could never, like at my age, I couldn't be friends with somebody who's like 22. It would never happen.
No,
Like
it's
never.
weird. I mean, I have coworkers with younger people or something, but that's you're forced to be around each other.
Even that,
But
even when your 22-year-old coworker goes, "Hey, Frank, we're all going out," what's the first thought
oh
in your
no, I
head?
don't.
Yeah,
No, I'm going home.
first
See
thought in
ya.
my head is like, "Out? What?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. My out is maybe I'll walk the dog, but other than that, out. There's no out for me anymore.
I gotta go home. I can't
Home.
be
I
out."
go out with my wife and maybe on occasion friends, but
Yeah,
no out.
I just can't even. I can't. I hope I'm not sound like an ageist here or whatever, but I just like younger people. Like I feel like the only case that's appropriate for, or maybe somewhat common, is if like your niece or your nephew or like a family member, somebody that you have to have an association with, that kind of thing. Then maybe like yeah, okay, we'll go have a bite to eat. Take the cousin out or that kind of thing. But never like I don't know. I just can't see.
I mean, I'm friends with a few people that are 20, 30 years older than I am.
Like friends.
I don't know, like friends, but friends. We play the poker guys. You know some of them.
I guess so. But
I mean,
that's
we don't
like
hang out. We play poker together.
that's what I'm saying.
But
Like that's a group activity where people who just kind of stringing people along. But to be like, if one of them called you up and was like, "Frank, you want to go out and get a drink?" Would you go with them? I
I
would
don't
never
know. I mean,
go.
probably not. I don't know. It's like if one of them called and said, a bunch of us are going out.
Then maybe.
Yeah,
But if he
yeah.
was
Why
like,
not?
if he was like, me and all my 20-year-old friends are going out, would you go with them? I would never
It's
go.
a little weird.
I
A
think
little
that's
weird.
just weird.
Yeah, it depends on the context and what's involved, who's going to be there. There's a lot of factors involved. Like if one of the poker guys said, "Hey, Frank, just me and you go," I'd be like, "No,
Yeah.
probably not." But if he's like, "Oh, a bunch of poker guys are getting together to go out to dinner or something, or going to a bar," I'm like, "Yeah, I'll hang out, whatever, that's fine."
I don't know. I feel like even like
I
18,
played softball with them.
even like 18 years old or 21, whatever the age of consents are, even I feel like that isn't like, even if you're like technically by law it's appropriate, I'm like, that's still inappropriate to
Yeah,
me.
but like I've played softball with these guys. They're not, bad guys. They're nice guys.
No, I'm talking about like for like the opposite, like if you're
Oh, opposite sex is
pursuing
weird. Yeah,
somebody,
there's a weirdness there.
if you're like, oh, she's 18, she's no, it's still,
Hmm.
that's still
Make friends your own
really,
age for that. Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah,
still because when you're
that's weird.
18 and you're 21 and 25 and 27, you're doing things way different than what
Of course,
35 and 40 and 45-year-olds are doing.
absolutely. Your whole mindset is different. You've lived longer. You're in a different generation. It's you're in different levels.
Like I think about the amount, even on a random night, the amount of alcohol I consumed in my 20s on a random night. I go a beer and a half in right now, and I'm like, I gotta take a nap. Like this is ridiculous. Like I need some cheese and crackers, and I need 20 minutes on the chair with my eyes closed, just to recover from something, just to recover from a beer and a half. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, it's different now. Nowadays, you can't hang with 20-year-olds. It's not the same game.
So I look at Chris D'Elia, and I can't understand why anybody would behave in this manner. First of all, like even if he made a pass at a girl in person, which is never traceable, in public, I still don't find that appropriate. But then to take that next step further and document it on social media, do you know what I'm saying? Like I can't fathom that.
There's got to be like there's like a not a fearlessness, but like a just not they're not for some reason they're not worried about it. I don't know why. They're not saying to themselves, "Hmm, so this might be maybe they didn't." I don't know. I'm trying to think of did he
Right?
think it
It's
was
so
wrong? He
weird.
had to have. No, it was wrong.
Like I'm in the middle of the Epstein doc on Netflix. Have you seen this?
No.
We're on episode 3. I only think there's 4 episodes. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this and I go, how did this guy think he was going to get away with all the, but everybody, and even the people that they're interviewing in the thing, they're like, he never thought he was going to get called out. Like, I think with
That's the
him,
thing. They don't think that.
I know with him, I think it was the money and the connections he had. So I can see a connection there to a headlining comic. Like I get
You're nobody. You're
you're
gonna get caught.
yeah.
It's gonna blow up in your face.
You're climbing the ladder of success in stand-up comedy, but that's a stand-up comedy ladder in the grand scheme of things. Like, come on, like, give me a break. Like,
It's the individual. It's not like it's he had to have something going on in his life that he was messed up. He has some kind of weird wiring going on. It's not the lifestyle. Comics are comics. They live normal lives. He's got some kind of something wrong with it. That's what it is. There's something wrong with him. This is true, which it seems to be. But if it's true, it's something wrong with this guy.
well, he hasn't. There's been no response yet from him, so I'm sure this will be an ongoing thing. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Like, we've been down this road so many times now. You're kind of like, I wonder which way he goes. Does he just admit it? Does he just say, I have problems, I need to go get help? Does he say these are not true? Does he say, like, it's weird. You almost get desensitized and it almost becomes like a TV show to a degree.
So, yep, here's another one.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's what though. Get them out there. Let's get them all out. That's fine. Expose them.
Yeah. You know what else is trending? Mrs. Buttersworth. What does Mrs. Buttersworth look like?
I actually have Mrs. Butterworth here.
I don't even know. Oh, is that just the bottle?
The bottle is
she's the
shaped,
bottle.
Yeah. Right. I couldn't even tell you I couldn't describe it. But I
got
have
it.
a Mrs. Butterworth.
Yeah,
here.
I got it. Because I just saw Mrs. Butterworth is trending too now because of Aunt Jemima. That's Mrs. Butterworth. Yeah, can you see it there, Frank? Oh, losing Frank for a second. So let's see. We got do we long lows Frank? I think we did. Doesn't look like he's unfreezing. All right, so we'll transition into this. Aunt Jemima conversation, and now I guess Mrs. Butterworth is trending as well. Let me get the official thing for you guys here on the Aunt Jemima statement, because Quaker Oats. This is a weird one in a sense of like, hey buddy, how are you? Oh, thanks. So I was just talking about the weirdness behind Aunt Jemima. Weirdness meaning that Pepsi owns them, but Pepsi owns Quaker Oats, which owns Aunt Jemima. The corporate structure here is hard to follow a bit.
Sure. So
but
what's the problem? I know there's a.
I just wanted to get to the statement so I could read the statement from the. Okay, here it is. So it came from Quaker Oats, but Quaker Oats is owned by Pepsi. Okay. And this comes from Kristen Kropfel, Kroepfl, Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of Quaker Foods North America. In a statement, she says, "We are starting by removing the image and changing the name of Aunt Jemima. We will continue the conversation by gathering diverse perspectives from both our organization and the Black community to further evolve the brand and make it one everyone can be proud to have in their pantry." PepsiCo said it will drop the Aunt Jemima and rebrand the line of pancake mix. And I forgot they do mix too, not just syrup. I thought it was just syrup.
Oh yeah, they do. There's a bunch of stuff, I'm sure.
Born with the name since 1889, the parent company Quaker Oats, which has owned the brand since 1926, did not specify what the new name will be or what the updated packaging will look like. Details are not yet available. I didn't.
A step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, I want to get I want to know what the decision comes at a time of reckoning for many brands in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd. Krupfel continued, we recognize Aunt Jemima's origins are based on a racial stereotype. While work has been done over the years to update the brand in a manner intended to be appropriate and respectful, we realize those changes are not enough.
Makes sense.
Aunt Jemima is among 3 remaining brand mascots rooted. This is from Adweek, by the way. Aunt Jemima is among 3 remaining brand mascots rooted in nostalgia for slavery. Aunt Jemima synonyms with the mammy stereotype popularized in minstrel shows after the Civil War, according to Marilyn Kern Foxworth, author of Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, and Rastus, Blacks in Advertising, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. That's a handful of a book title. According to a timeline on AuntJemima.com, the character was first portrayed in 1890 by Nancy Green, a storyteller, cook, and missionary worker. The timeline also notes that the character was given a contemporary look with pearl earrings, and a lace collar in 1989. According to PepsiCo, the rebrand is intended to help the brand evolve over time with the goal of representing loving moms from diverse backgrounds who want the best for their families. I always love that. I always love that when they want the. It always comes from like a cereal thing, something just packed with sugar that's going to give you diabetes. We want the best for your family. You do? Then take half the sugar out. It'll still be sweet.
We want the best sugar for your family.
We want the best Captain Crunch that you can have. You do, then soften it up because my mouth's bleeding.
Yeah, but I like Captain Crunch.
Yeah, Captain Crunch is the best. It's a big change for Quaker and PepsiCo, which previously were reluctant to institute change. Here's the thing, and I know like a lot of people, a lot of stubborn people are going to be like, oh, we got to change everything. But the fact of the matter is they've been changing brands and characters for years. Like,
things change all the time.
Remember the Brawny guy? Like that was like a massive, like they were looking for the new Brawny guy because at a certain point, like the Brawny guy became like a creepy old dude. And you're like, this is not this Brawny guy from like 67 ain't doing the trick anymore. And they got like a new Brawny guy. So it's like just
get over it.
Get over it.
That's going to change. It's not. And I mean, are you upset about the reason? If you're upset about the reason it's changing, then you have a problem.
Might have to do some inward.
Might have to look inside. I mean, if you're upset that it's just changing, then get used to change because things change all the time.
I guess here, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can kind of see on the one side is the older Aunt Jemima, and then that's the more modern Aunt Jemima. So, like even in this, they've been making constant adjustments to keep up because, in a weird way, and I can speak to this being, in advertising, in a weird way, every person wants to identify themselves with a brand. You might think to yourself, it's just syrup, it's just cereal, it's just, bread. Who cares? But there is a certain like identification.
There's a connection to your childhood. I get it.
That you make.
But yeah, that's fine. But there's a lot of things from your childhood that are no longer around or that have evolved and grown.
No, but I'm saying that's why they're always constantly modernizing these things. Like even Captain Crunch isn't drawn the way he was drawn 25 years ago. There has to be an update because you want to see, like if you looked at Captain Crunch and you were like, Captain Crunch kind of like old looking, like why, like Captain, like it looks tired. It doesn't look. You want to. It's weird to say, but you do want to identify a little bit with some of these brands. Not that you need to see a picture of yourself or somebody who looks like you in the brand. My Captain Crunch example being the example. You just want to see something that represents, like, now and who am I explaining this right?
I don't know because I don't. It's a weird explanation, but what I think is that mascots just are supposed to represent your product in whatever way. It's supposed to make you like the product. And for a lot of people, the mascot for Aunt Jemima it's not the way it should be.
Doesn't work for
there
them.
are other mascots. Do something else. There are people, it's 2020. We got to start, modernizing stuff and getting rid of stuff that makes people, the stereotypical crap, the stuff that just puts down other cultures. That stuff's got to be changed, updated.
Like what I'm saying is, if they drew Frozen the way they drew Beauty and the Beast, I don't think it would have been as popular because Pixar has updated like the times now are
Yeah,
Pixar.
no, things need a modern spin. Sure,
That's what I'm
that's true.
that's what I'm saying. So if you even if you
That's
take
not why this is changing.
no. But my point is even if you take racism and culture out of it, there's always a constant need to
Oh yeah, things change all the time
right,
because things have to be modernized. Things have to evolve with the times.
right.
This is something that hasn't changed in decades, and if they change, let's say Aunt Jemima suddenly changed it for and didn't say the reason. They just said, you know what? Here's the new uh, mascot. Here's the new promotion.
Right.
And the reason was just they changed it just because they wanted to change it. Would anybody make a stink over it?
Outside of the advertising world, probably not.
Right?
Right.
People would be like, okay, Aunt Jemima's changing the mascot, changing the face of the thing. Okay, but now it's because it's this because it's a part of all this movement. People are upset, and that's stupid. People shouldn't be upset. It's changing because it needs to change. It's like the Redskins, Washington Redskins. It needs to change. That's something that's ridiculous and has to go. I
Well,
mean,
if you look at the Mrs. Butterworth label, like there's no like that pat of butter, you know.
yeah, the label isn't bad. It's the
Right.
bottle, I guess, which
Right.
but I don't remember seeing a bottle like that with the arms.
Not with the arms. Well, do you remember the commercial? Mrs. The bottle used to move. It was the bottle
Used
was
to
like a
move around. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
person. And I always used to remember like I wish my syrup bottles would talk to me.
Yeah.
Wish I
You
could
know
be
what I
friends with
like,
them.
but always seem too expensive and ridiculous to me is those syrup bottles, the glass ones with the little tiny handle.
Yeah,
You
because
know, I
you're
always wanted to
foo-foo.
get those.
You're very foo-foo. You're very fancy.
I'm not foo-foo. It looked cool.
You're talking about like
And
these.
and to have your syrup in a glass, yes,
Yep.
to have your syrup in a glass bottle like that, it just seems very. I don't know. It seems like it would taste better. I don't know.
Talk about stereotyping. If you're gonna make a fancy syrup, you have to put it in a
You got to
glass
put
with a
that little
little
thing.
tiny
Yeah.
loop.
I don't know what that little handle does. You can't hold it for nothing.
I'll tell you what it
Right.
does. It allows you to charge $14.95 for a jar of syrup. That's what it does.
That's true.
Right? I mean,
You put that. I feel like you put that little handle on like ketchup, and you could up the price by a few dollars.
just immediately. You put that little handle on anything, you get a couple more bucks out of the whole deal.
What is that thing?
I don't know. I will
Maybe you
say
could like
this.
hang it from like a shelf or something. I don't know. You
I
can't.
will say this, and whatever they're going to do with Aunt Jemima, Mrs. Butterworth, and everything, I don't know if you could eliminate that pat of butter from the. That seems like the golden ticket to moving syrup.
It makes it look so good. You need the pat of butter.
They each have it. They each have that butter on there. Just
Yeah, nothing to do with the syrup either.
is there anything better than that? Just throw that butter on some fresh hotcakes.
I feel like there needs to be more use for syrup. It's such a good product. We need to find ways to get it into more things.
Why aren't we sticking it on waffles and pancakes? That's really all it's been relegated to.
Yeah, and on occasion, I think what is it called? Like candied yams. You could do that.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, we got to
Chicken
get
and
into more
waffles.
foods.
You throw a little bit on the like if you get like a nice spicy
Yeah, but there's
chicken.
your waffles again.
But the waffles is there, yeah. But I would even like if you got like that nice like spicy chicken, I'd even put that in a little bit of syrup, make that happen. But the waffle does help.
The waffle help. But I'm telling you, syrup is such a good product. Chefs, if there are any chefs out there, try to find more uses for syrup because it's amazing. It should be in more things.
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I'm not surprised by this. I'm not shocked. I'm not upset by it at all. I think that brands need to do what's best, and I think that our world is always constantly changing and evolving. And a lot of these things that are coming to light now maybe needed, we should have gotten to them sooner, you know.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
when you look at
Definitely.
all of this stuff, I mean, even when you look at the right to vote, like that, like when you look at when that came,
It's relatively new, which is
it's
insane
shockingly
for
new.
women, for minority. It's insane how not so long ago that was.
I mean, crazy,
Unbelievable.
kind of crazy. So, but what would you like? Where do you go from here? Because I don't even know. Because I mean, do you worry about keeping brand loyalty? Like, is there brand loyalty? See, for me, I'll be totally honest with you. My loyalty in the syrup world lies in the price. Like, I'm just gonna go for whatever's the cheapest in the market. In fact, my wife tried to get me to buy one of those 14.95 bottles of syrup, and I lied to her, and I was like, "Yeah, they didn't have any. They had plenty of them, but I still bought. I don't even know which one I bought. I bought the cheapest one that was there."
If it tastes like syrup, I'm in.
It's just syrup. To me, it's just syrup. A lot of other products make a difference, but to me, there's a few products where I could care less. I'm just going with
See,
whatever's the cheapest.
IHOP needs to come out with a line of syrups, but they have to have all their like the boysenberry and all that stuff.
Do you think their
I don't know
syrup
why
is?
they don't have it.
That's true because they do have four. There's four flavors on the table when you go to an IHOP.
I think so. They should have their own line of syrups. People would go nuts for them.
Yeah. Do you have to go? Do you? I know you're on a
I
time.
do.
Okay.
I
All
do.
right. All right. So we can't help save what the new brand should be, but whatever it is, it should have butter on it for sure. You got to keep that butter on there, man. That's the
And
good stuff.
that little handle.
And the little maybe
The
that's
plastic bottles should have the
you
handle.
know what? If you put the little handle on the big plastic bottle, you might be Frank. You might have something there.
That little handle doesn't go on anything else but syrup.
I
I don't know
bet
what the
you
correlation is.
if they change the name first, they'll get a bump in sales, and then if they make that huge swooping handle, little tiny handle, they'll see another
Yeah,
increase.
call it little handle syrup.
I think you might have a point there, my friend. I really, really do. All right, we're gonna leave it there. 5 song challenge still in effect. We're waiting for J Sabs to come to do it. Now, you listen to the songs though, Frank.
I did. I did listen.
Can I get you to listen to them for a second time before the next episode? I think that
If
makes
I
a
give you my
difference.
answer, it might hint at what my response will be.
Oh
Yes
no.
or no, it might hint at what my response will
Okay.
be.
All right. Don't give an answer, but I'm just saying if you can keep an open mind to it, maybe a second listen before the next thing might be helpful.
Maybe.
Let's see. All right. That's it for us. AnthonyOnAir.com has all our information. Thanks for hanging, and we'll see you on the next episode.